Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another BTNeanderthal video. This today is going to be a build guide for the Smiter, also known as the Smite Paladin or the Uber Killer, whatever it might be. It is the best build in the game to kill the Ubers, which are the endgame bosses that spawn once you cube these items. So, first of all, if you don't know anything about Ubers, we're going to start from the top real quick. You need to farm all these keys, okay? One, the terror key comes from the Countess. The hate key comes from the Summoner. The destruction key comes from Neelthak. Okay, and those are all different bosses throughout the, in different locations. The Tower, the Arcane Sanctuary, and then the Halls of Vought. So, you need to collect what is commonly known as a 3x3, so like 3 keys. You need all these keys in order to make a portal, right? And you transmute that. It has to be in Act 5, and I believe you need to have the Act 5 Quest 6 completed in order to go into it. At least that was the way it was in LOD, I believe. So, the other thing too is, once you have 3x3, you don't want to do it like 1x3 because you need these organs in order to actually get into Uber Tristram. Okay? So, and each one of these bosses, like Matron's Den, always has Lilith. The Furnace of Pain always has Isual. And the Forgotten Sands always has Duriel. And they always drop the same organ. So the reason why you need 3x3 first is because the portal spawn is random. So this one could either be Forgotten Sands or Furnace of Pain. It decides to be Forgotten Sands, but this last one will always be the remaining one. So that's why we farm 3x3. Okay, and then after you kill all the bosses in these areas, then you get all 3 organs, and then you transmute the organs in order to get the actual Uber Tristram spawned in. And once the Uber Tristram spawned in, then you get a Hellfire Torch, which rolls, you know, any of the 7 classes, which is plus 3 skills to that class, and 10 to 20 attributes and 10 to 20 all resistances. So that is how you get the Hellfire Torch, and then a standard of heroes that doesn't do anything, equal to the amount of people in the game when the bosses die. So, let's get started. Basically, first things first, this is a Smiter guide, so let's go over and look at max roll here. This is going to be the guide that we are like referencing here, and this will be the video guide that's at the very bottom of this actual guide. So first of all this gear is pretty much the exact same. It's not exactly, but very, very close. We have the skill tree. I guess we'll go over that first. But the main skills that we're going to be using are Smite, Fanaticism, Holy Shield, and Zeal. Okay, as a pure Smiter. So let's take a look at the skills that we have here. We have maxed out Smite, because that's our main skill. And then maxed out Holy Shield, because that adds more damage to Smite. And gives us additional block. On top of that, we're maxing out Fanaticism in order to actually boost up our damage and our attack speed. And then Resist Lightning is great because we can actually increase our lightning resistance maximum quite high, honestly. So that's very good. And then we put the remaining points that we don't need into Zeal. And we put 1 point of Salvation just for the heck of it, because, and Vigor, just for like utility, and if we're playing with other paladins and stuff, we have auras that we want to share, have multiple auras up, and stuff like that. It's always good. And Zeal is to clear out just regular trash mobs or density, because Zeal hits fast, and Smite just focuses one target. Zeal does require attack rating, whereas Smite does not. So let's get into a little bit. First of all, we use Call to Arms on swap with Spirit, and we cast Holy Shield. Now I'm using Vigor and Charge in order to move quickly around. And then when you're playing on... playing in Matron's Den on LOD, the map should be left for the spawn. I don't think I've actually done single player Ubers on D2R yet, but it should be in the left, and it is. Okay. So now we put Fanaticism on, and we use Smite. And as you can see, Lilith is going down with extreme ease. All you have to do is literally just hold left click and put Fanaticism Aura on, and you're good to go. And then she always drops the Diablo's horn. So another thing to know too is, like, though my gear is pretty good, there's also a starter version of this. And in the starter version, we're just gonna scroll down real quick. You don't even need that crazy good of gear. Like, this character, all you really need in order for your character to work well is Crushing Blow, Open Wounds, and, or at least something to prevent the monster from healing, which Open Wounds does that very effectively. But you need Crushing Blow, Attack Speed if you can get that. It's not required, but definitely wanted. Cannot be Frozen is very, very helpful. And then just resistances, something to counter Mephisto. Also, as you can see, here we have Treachery and Ravenfrost for that cannot be frozen. So just get attack speed, just get some form of open wounds. As you can see, we have a belt that we can craft here with open wounds on it. Really solid. Black rune word, and then smoke. It's just like super simple stuff. And Treachery will allow you to fade proc and stuff, which is great as well. Yeah, let's go into the next one. And then also, I will actually mention this, but Life Tap Wand is actually very, very strong. So, say you don't have Drax, say you don't have Life Tap Source, you can go and farm a Life Tap Wand, which I have a video on that as well. But as you can see, we're using Zeal against all these trash mobs here, and it's clearing out with relative ease. But yeah, you can farm a Life Tap Wand, and Life Tap is what keeps you alive, really. Like, you leech so much life from them. And the good news is, nothing is physical immune, at least in this area. Another thing that's common is you could also bring Enigma on you, or have a teleport staff so you don't have to fight through all this mass density. That's another option. Yeah, this is actually insane amounts of density here for this area, of course. But we're really trying to get to the end. The bridge here indicates which direction we're actually going to be going for the boss, and he's always like right near the end. So he actually might teleport on me right now. There you go. There he is. I already procced Life Tap, and now we just smite him down. Hold left click and win the game. There you go. They do deal damage to me, but again, Life Tap is super strong. So it's not really that much of a worry. And then Duriel usually spawns right next to the portal. Rarely, that's not the case. There we go. We put Fanaticism on. We use Smite again. There's the Life Tap proc. Again, if you don't have Drax or some other source of Life Tap proc, you can just use that Life Tap Wand. So there you go. That's all the Uber bosses. Now, what I typically like to do, or key bosses, I guess you could say. Organ bosses, whatever you want to call them. But now, what I would say is go over to the top left. This is the way I usually run this. And you pull Mephisto first. So all you have to do is like run down here. And if you separate them all, it makes your life so much easier. We didn't even get a... Okay, there's the life tap proc. Usually that's a really big problem if you're not geared like I am here. But because we have an insane amount of lightning resistance here, and resistance, that is, Mephisto's not really a huge threat to us. So, and then sometimes if I have a weaker character, I will clear out the area like this. Just so that nothing gets over here. Because the only way in and out is through this red portal. You want to keep this clear as much as possible. So that's why we pull Mephisto. Some people pull Mephisto down here as well. You can do the same exact thing there. But like, just make sure you're not pulling the monsters towards that red portal. Now, for this, if I was playing in a group, I'd tell my friends to go like chill right here. This is kind of like an Uber, I guess, Smiter guide, but... and then Bale would teleport away. But Bale should teleport on us. And we can separate them again, just like this. Now with this gear, I would just be able to run in and kill all three of them, no problem. And this is actually a really good demonstration of, it's really important to actually bring mana potions. Bale went down super fast. But normally the optimal potion setup, I wouldn't talk about this on most builds, but this one's actually kind of important. I will show you. You'd usually have like rejuves on 1, 2, and 3, or these slots. In this case, we'll just use healing potions. And then we'd have just a few super mana potions, because Bale has that like mana steal attack, and then on top of that there's the ghosts. This guy's being tricky, man. Also, I will so I'll show you Diablo first, then I'll give you a couple other tips, and we'll get into the gear as well. So as you can see, Diablo's just going down really fast as well. No problems here. And you don't really even need to kill all these things, the monsters. But it helps. So let's see what we get, just for fun. Can't wear any gear because of the... Oh my god, dude. Stop it, game. Alright. Let's see if we get anything good. 13, 17, assassin. Nothing good. Feels bad, man. Alright. So, a couple other tips I will tell you real quick as well. Treachery, like a couple of gear options here. What I would use is like T-Gods, especially against Mephisto. Not super required against all the other stuff. But Mephisto, definitely want T-Gods. As far as all the other monsters, and if you're not really worried about Mephisto, then you could go String of Airs. Also a nice option because of the magic damage reduction and the damage reduction, the physical damage reduction it gives you. So then there's also Gore Riders, which would be good if you're going to be using more Zeal. It also gives Crushing Blow, Open Wounds, and Run Walk, so it's very good. But the thing about Goblin Toe is it gives us more Crushing Blow. So with a total of, let's see, does it actually show our Crushing Blow here? 60% chance of Crushing Blow. And that's with like Goblin Toes on and G-Face on. But again, getting into the gear real quick. We have Grief, because Grief says plus up to 400 damage. And that actually applies to the Smite base damage, which applies an insane amount of damage. You don't see it on actual Smite damage. So if I have Smite here, it says 1300, but it's way more than that. You can actually use D2 Planner to go and see the calculation. Then we use Drax because of Life Tap, Open Wounds, and Life Steal. Then we use Ravenfrost for the Cannot Be Frozen, and attack rating is nice with Dexterity to give us block chance. Wisp Projector, that's just good for Absorb. Chains of Honor for that, you know, counter to Mephisto's Conviction. And it just gives you a whole bunch of other great stats. Again, T-Gods, like I said. G-Face is your best in slot. Gives you 30 fast rate recovery. Crazy other stats too. And then I socket that usually with like 15 all res something. So usually an rune at the very least. And then Metal Grid is great for the all res and attack rating for more zeal attacks. Then we have Hawes, which is your... Honestly, it's just really, really good. Some people up this item. You don't have to, but really good smite item. Also another option would be the Exile, and we'll actually go over to the gear variants again real quick. And then, like I said, we use Goblin Toes, but we can also use Gores. So real quick, that's the standard variant that we have, and we also have like 20 lifers and 5 all res. Basically, you just want survivability. Combat skills isn't bad, but like life and resistances are more of a priority here. Again, most of your damage does come from crushing blow, not necessarily your plus to skills. So let's take a look here. There's another option and variant which we can use, such as Last Wish. And Last Wish just says up to 70% crushing blow, which is absolutely insane. And then Might Aura and Fade and Life Tap. This weapon is bonkers, but it's extremely expensive. So, and then Grief is kind of a competitor to it, and it's much cheaper. Crown of Ages, if you want to go, again, it's called high investment for a reason. Crown of Ages, you're just never going to die on this build, and you always just hold left click, and it doesn't matter what you do. But like, you know, Crown of Ages for extreme damage reduction, Chains of Honor again, Metal Grid, Exile, Gores, Wisp again, all these things, and then a crafted pair of gloves, and basically the same skillers. On swap, again, we just have Spirit and CTA. But yeah, that's just like a crazy expensive version. And we don't actually really use a mercenary on this, but in the planner we actually showcase one. You could use Reaper's Toll and Vampire's Gaze and Treachery. What you can do is you can make your mercenary treachery non-ethereal, so that way you can use it. And let's get into that real quick. So some things that are important, say you don't have Chains of Honor and you want to help your resistances about a bit, then you can proc Fade. And that only costs like a rune to make treachery. You just stand here until you actually get your Fade proc, right? And it'll show up a different color on your resistances, and you'll be kind of like see-through. And then another thing is, if you're already in Tristram, you could just go up here. And there's like a fire up here and a fire in there that you can use to proc Fade. So that's up to you. But yeah, that's pretty much the Smiter overall. Let's see if there's anything else I want to mention real quick. So we went over the skills. Basically, as far as attributes go, you just want as many points in the strength just to wear your gear. Dexterity, enough for max block for the shield that you're wearing. And then no energy and the rest into vitality. As you can see, we have the gear options. There's plenty of options here. And you can check that out on the max roll guide here, which will be a link in the description. Mercenary, it's not really recommended, like I said earlier. And the playstyle, we talked about the playstyle already, but you can read more about it here. And that Wand of Life Tap is sold by the merchants. I usually farm Nightmare Drognin to get that. And then you have some breakpoints here if you want it. But honestly, the breakpoints don't really matter too much, because you're going to be rocking Fanaticism, and you're always going to be at the max breakpoint anyways with the Grief Phase Blade. And Fanaticism. So it's just like you're a speedy boy. And it's definitely hardcore viable. Definitely hardcore viable. So yeah, anyways, that's pretty much that. If you enjoyed this guide and you found it helpful, we kind of walked through everything. It's pretty simple, and it's got one job, and that's basically to kill Ubers. You can kill other bosses too, and you can like farm other areas, which I do mention in the farming spots section. But like, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Just focus on Ubers with this build. You can build it super cheap, And honestly, it's a great time, man. Just be making currency, making torches, selling them, all that stuff. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought. You guys are all beasts.